Hello, this is a video about Black Sabbath as old men. Bands aren't supposed to grow old. Most of us are only ever young, so we've got something to feel sad about during the back nine. But the poor rock musician makes a name singing their distrust of the old, only to morph gradually into what they most despise. That's why in this series I like to ponder them in their twilight years, trying to do their thing in these impossible conditions. In 60s Britain, while many played the blues, one band decided that a music of mere sadness wasn't cutting it. They needed a music of horror, for they dwelt in Birmingham, a city of such persistent cruelty that its people spoke an absurdist, garbled form of English barely comprehensible to outsiders.
Well, yes, I think most people do.
Inventing heavy metal as a way to cope, Earth wrote some scary songs and changed their name to Black Sabbath. For people never subjected to Birmingham, their music was very much like a horror movie or a documentary on the lifestyles of primitive tribes. These regular folk, spoilt by creature comforts and morals, gained a thrilling window into a dark realm of barely human simian gruntings and crude riffs. The next any of us knew, it was 2011. The years had weathered them, wealth coddled them, events separated them. And yet still, the world kept asking, are you going to do Black Sabbath again? Are you going to do Black Sabbath some more? What about some more Black Sabbath? How's about it? How's about a bit more Black Sabbath? Are you going to do Black Sabbath some more? Have you guys ever considered doing a bit more Black Sabbath? How's about a bit more Black Sabbath? How's about a bit more Black Sabbath? How's about it? If they decided in 2011 to do more Black Sabbath, it wouldn't have been the first time. They did Live Aid in '85, and some shows and a live album in the late 90s. What people really wanted, though, was an album. And come 2011, the constant nagging finally worked. They announced there would be a Black Sabbath tour and album from the classic lineup, and there was much rejoicing. But a wrinkle soon appeared. Drummer Bill Ward couldn't really play anymore. He blamed an unfair contract and quit, but Ozzy Osbourne said Bill turned up looking like an old guy. For someone who's been sitting on their arse eating shit, to come along and ask for an equal split is insane. Problems with Ward went back as far as 1997, when spare drummers were kept on standby for tours. He would always claim the whole problem was just that the band were being mean to him. But sure enough, come the year of the big reunion tour, he spent most of it sick in hospital. You might say he put the ill in Bill. And the bill in Ward. Even though the entire point was now defeated, this wasn't the Black Sabbath reunion, just yet another set of three of them plus a random dude. They pressed on. The money would rain from the skies regardless, and now it would only have to be split three ways. The job of random dude went to the kid from Rage Against the Machine, and as for a producer, without necessary maintenance, bands die. What was a live, evolving organism becomes a lump of old fossil, and any attempt by the band to be organic is derailed by attempts to mimic the shape of the fossil. Any temptation to throw the fossil away and start over is derailed by the fact that people are offering good money to see it again. To help, they hired Rubin, a man who coaches old rock bands through the imitation of what once came naturally. He was a human set of gutter bumpers, and any time the Black Sabbath bowling ball veered off course, he was there to nudge it back on track. First, he had them listen to their debut album, saying even Black Sabbath got influenced by Black Sabbath, and that they'd ended up losing the jazz, blues and the psychedelic stuff that was part of the picture at first. So this was good. He was trying to remind them how the band was before fossilisation. But in other ways, he worked to keep them fossilised. He changed a line, "I'm a happy isolated man," to "I'm a crazy isolated man," saying the words happy or glad didn't belong on a Black Sabbath album. It's a shame that when he had them listen to their first album, he wasn't listening too, because if he did, he'd have noticed the line, "Everyone's happy when the wizard walks by," and that it was in a song about a wizard making evil disappear. Here are some other classic Sabbath lyrics. "Take my hand and we'll go riding through the sunshine from above. We'll find happiness together in the summer skies of love. Make a home where love is there to stay. peace and happiness in every day. Sabbath wasn't all doom and gloom, and anyone who thought otherwise might be accused of not listening very closely. They were playful. They had songs about love, wizards and fairies. They even had one that was just sincere Christian evangelising set to music. But the guy who called himself a fan ignored all that, lounging on a bed in his jimmy jams while holding them to a formula they'd never used to begin with. If the band had a single rebellious bone left in their bodies, they would have ignored him, but they didn't. They, 3 pensioners with separate legal representation, couldn't remember what Black Sabbath was either. It was the blind leading the blind. God is Dead, ? Took a long time to write, even longer than it takes to listen to, and it's nearly 9 minutes long. Be fair to the Sab, they didn't play it safe with the song lengths. Rubin said he wanted to root the album in the pre-metal era, and that if it ended up sounding like Metallica, then we'd failed. So why does God is Dead start out sounding loads like Metallica? Moody atonal arpeggios with chorus effects and slick production. But to be fair, it soon kicks in with a very early Sabbath riff. Like an updated War Pigs intro with extra gnarly bass. Ozzy uses his solo career voice, low-pitched, double-tracked. The lyrics are cheesy but effective. Sabbath were never poets laureate, and lines like "Out of the gloom I rise up from my tomb into impending doom" were always par for the course. But at the chorus, holy moly, they actually surprise you. The blood runs free, the rain turns red, give me the wine, you keep the bread. A great metal lyrics, with Ozzy doing a great melody line, which is impressive for a pensioner. Melodic skills are usually the first thing to go, and he definitely doesn't bring gold to the whole song. Ozzy got the title from a famous 60s Time magazine cover, using it against Geezer Butler's protests.
Ozzy came out with the title God is Dead, and then it's like, I was going, you can't sing that. And so he wanted to keep it in, so I wrote the rest of the lyrics around about a religious fanatic, somebody that's been told that God is dead and he wants to prove that God is alive and well.
So that's the band's story, but I prefer to ignore it because it's boring. As far as I'm concerned, this song is about Ozzy. He's singing about himself in his decrepit twilight, his life in metal flashing before his eyes, overcome by religious hallucinations as he skids unstoppably towards the grave. Because that's what Black Sabbath should be singing about at their age. No matter how well they did this doomy stuff as youngsters, old age brings a weight you can't fake. Brad Wilk's drumming is great, dragging the tempo with an exhausted, wading through treacle vibe that suits the end-of-life theme I just made up. Iommi brings early Sabbath-type riffs that sound very familiar. Halfway through it cuts to a total retread of the double time part from the song Black Sabbath. Rubin again, no doubt telling them which tricks to rehash. The star though is Geezer Butler, who is easily on the best form of any of them, sounding wild where the others only sound capable. It's a strange listen though, a classic of old age rock in seeming slightly off, slightly stiff in the joints. The choruses do all the heavy lifting and the rest never rises above the level of an effective copy. And now, just for a bit of fun, I like to grade the song on a few different aspects. The following numbers are all arrived at highly scientifically and are not to be questioned. Personnel. We have a 75% pure lineup, with only 25% of random stand-in. Freshness. As a song, this is old hat from top to bottom. The one fresh thing about it is the thing of making metal about old age. I know they didn't actually do that, but whatever. 36% fresh. Integrity. They still had some love for what they were doing, but this was more a business than a band at this point. 21%. Self-sufficiency, 90%. No outside songwriters needed and no session players required, besides Random Dude. Cringe factor, significant. I'd say there's a good 51% controlling stake of cringe. Legacy harm, 0. Tony Iommi's years of fake Black Sabbath albums had already taken care of that. MVP, Geezer Butler, the only member whose skills were undimmed. Thanks to the Nietzschean ring of the title, the boy himself appeared on the single cover, apparently halfway through swallowing a jellyfish, possibly in nihilistic response to the nuclear bomb going off behind him. The song's reviews were mixed, but it won a Grammy for Best Metal Performance. The album, 13, got to #1, and just in case anyone were in any doubt as to its spirit of dogged imitation, Rubin put the same church bells and thunder sounds at the end of it that had originally started their debut. This truly was a Star Wars The Force Awakens of metal albums. Plans for a follow-up were scrapped. The band ended officially in 2017. Thanks for watching. This bit of content is now over. There's more And I'm Growing Old here. There's other heavy content there. And just remember,